I provide the highest utilization for my manufacturing equipment? How can I keep my workforce highly motivated such that they're very productive? At the asset level, it's all about efficiency. If we expand the enterprise a little bit more, now we're talking about the system level. And at the system level, we're starting to look at ways in which your products or services get to market. So this is about all your trading partners that bring your products, if it's a physical product, your logistics and transportation companies, your value-added resellers, so they can take your product and augment it with something else and provide it to the market. It could be an original equipment manufacturer, so somebody that takes your product and assembles it into something larger that is being brought to market. In essence, it's looking at the ways in which whatever you're creating or whatever service you're providing will eventually reach that end consumer. The key when we talk about the system level of the enterprise is transparency. You want to have visibility into the vendor management inventory. You want to know where your stuff is if you're dealing with a logistics company. You want to have direct touch points with those consumers such that you can do better product design. So both ways, going out from the asset and coming back into the asset, how transparent can I make my system level? The broadest view of the enterprise is the ecosystem. That's where the consumers sit. That's where your customers sit. And by the way, your customers and your consumer may be different people, because you may be selling to somebody that in turn provides that product or service to an end consumer. These are your trading partners, so people that have adjacent products or adjacent services that are being sold with yours. This could be your value resellers that are providing an ultimate service to a product that you're manufacturing and that's being offered directly to a consumer. This could be trade associations. This could be your competitors. It's the broadest possible view of where your enterprise lives. The key at the ecosystem level, what we strive for, is engagement. We want to be engaged with our consumer. We want to be engaged with our customer. We want to be engaged with our trading partners. We want to be engaged with our competitors. It's all about getting an understanding of that world, very wide world, in which my products and services live, such that I can design better products and services, such that I can own that market. I said early on that all these forces are actually acting on the enterprise, and this is literally what I meant. All of those forces, the digital forces, are converging on the enterprise. And the key here is to understand that any one of these forces is interacting to all layers of the enterprise. So when I look at mobile, mobile is affecting the ecosystem, the system, and the asset. What does that mean practically? Practically, that means that when I'm thinking about creating a mobile application, so when I want to harness the mobile power, the mobile force to create disruption, I got to think about three things. Do I create a mobile application to engage with my consumers, such that if my product is physical, that's the way in which I sell to them, market to them, get their input for my engineering team? Or do I create a mobile application for my system layer? That means, do I create, for example, an application that helps my trackers find the optimal route for bringing a product to market? Do I create a mobile application that helps my value-added resellers sell my product better because they have direct access to analysis tools that I developed that helps them position those products with ultimate consumers? Or, at the end layer, do I create a mobile application to help my manufacturing plant employees be more efficient? More efficiently handle their workflows and move from one equipment or one stage of manufacturing to the next? By the way, if I'm the one making that decision, I have a limited amount of money, limited funds to invest in mobile. So what do? Do I build only one and ignore the other two? Do I build a little bit of those three because I have a budget that I cannot exceed? I gotta make a decision. At those decision points, and this is the very bottom of the slide, at any point that there's an intersection, I have a choice to ignore, react, or disrupt. What does that mean? I can choose that I'm not going to do anything on mobile for system, because once I look at the business value, I don't get a huge return on investing there. And this is just an example. I'm going to show you a few examples where it actually did make sense to invest at the system level. And I will say, okay, I'm going to ignore it. But I have to look at what's happening within my ecosystem with my competitors. If they are not ignoring in there and they are creating something mobile for the system, what does that mean to me as an enterprise? Conversely, if I see that something has happened, my choice is to react. I gotta become a me too. I gotta invest some money there to build a solution for my truck drivers and my logistics operators that have a mobile application such that it's easier for them to do business with me. The last option is disrupt. That means I do see an opportunity for making a change and harnessing that power to my company's advantage. I want to create an advantage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double down and perhaps invest more money there. Well, all the conversation was about mobile, but what about social? We have it right here. Do I create a crack team that will take care of monitoring what's being said in Twitter, Facebook, Taobao if you're in China, any other key social media, and then put analytics behind it to understand patterns, identify influencers, and launch a very proactive social campaign to convince those influencers, have those influencers in turn convince the rest of the community, launch a micro-social campaign with microsites that actually market and sell my product or my service. So that could be one use of the social force. What about if I create a network that allows my 10 or 15 distribution companies to be connected with one another such that vessel agents and transfer agents and selling agents can be talking to each other in real time within a protected community that I'm controlling about the delivery of my product. And we'll talk briefly, I mean, there's plenty of examples in today's world, in the 21st century, where a lot of large-scale delivery for manufacturing happens using fax and paper and thousands of emails and phone calls. So I have an opportunity. I can actually launch a social network within such an environment and completely disrupt it, because now I have all of the endpoints that could be working with me or any of my competitors. I have them in my network and I allow them to communicate with each other and keep a full record of the delivery activities. And that makes it easier for them to do business with me, because they don't have to handle paper and fax and thousands of emails. That makes it easier for my customers because they have accurate information all the time as to where their stuff is. And it's fundamentally a game changer for me, because now I could gain potentially full visibility into how my competition is handling their delivery. Or do I take and I build a social network within my asset level such that my employees are in a protected social community, such that if anybody anywhere on the planet has a question, they can ask it in our enterprise social media, and some expert the world across will answer that question in real time. So I am creating a human knowledge base within my internal social network, and that makes my people more productive, that makes my asset more efficient. Again, same conversation that we have about mobile. I may have a limited budget for what I'm going to be doing with social. So the question is, do I ignore one of the layers and react to the other two? Do I react on one and disrupt on the other two? I have limited number of dollars, hryvnia, euros. I got to split them up. So I had to make a decision. Oh, and by the way, that might be the exact same budget that I had for my mobile. Imagine that the picture is still there. That would be the same budget that we did have for the mobile investment. And by the way, that's exactly the same money that I'm going to have for investing in analytics. And by the way, that's exactly the same money that I have for investing in cyber, to protect myself, to expose, to manage that balance between how much do I want to harness and how much do I want to keep from prying eyes on espionage. So the key here is to go back to the words of Rupert Murdoch. These are not one and done decisions. Well, at least it's on the sides, huh? That's good. These are not once and done decisions. And what I wanted to share with you is that when your customers call you and they tell you, I need a mobile app to sell my product, I want you to right away think, okay, that is mobile, and sell my product presumably is ecosystem, so as consumers in the ecosystem, so that's one intersection. But wait a minute, how do you want me to sell your product? How do you want me to reflect your brand? How do you want me to influence the people that are actually using that product? Shouldn't we also be thinking about investing in social? Shouldn't we have an analytics investment behind this? So just building the app is not going to be enough to create the differentiation that you're looking for. And the idea is to set yourself time goals. All of you are familiar with agile development. This is the concept of enterprise agility. I have an intent of what I want to do. I have a strategic objective of what I need to achieve. I have a perspective. That means a set of hypotheses for why do I think I need to harness my digital forces to do something. And business value objective. And this is important because a lot of my clients confuse value with money. And in some occasions, money is the value that they're trying to create. But in some cases, and we'll discuss through a few, the value, it's not defined as dollars. It could be defined as an improvement on Net Promoter Score. It can be defined as an improvement of employee efficiency when measured on number of hours to respond to a ticket. There's different ways in which I'm going to be measuring value. And what we're saying up here is objectively how we're going to measure value. What is my hypothesis? What is it that I'm trying to do? And then we're going to break it into chunks or iterations. And I'm going to say for every one of those iterations, remember the prior picture? There's 5 forces with 3 circles. That is 15 convergent points. For every one of those 15 convergent points, I'm going to say, I am ignoring all of analytics for my first cycle. But I'm going to take mobile and social, and we're going to do a disruption. I'm going to create something within this cycle that focuses exclusively on a consumer application with an analytics engine behind it to understand behavior and usage of that app. We're going to do a little bit of social within the enterprise level such that we can answer questions really quickly and provide feedback real time within our app. And I'm going to take cybersecurity and protect all of the assets that are outside the realm of our current application. And that's the goal of our first cycle. We're going to execute on our first cycle, and we're going to measure results. And remember, I defined in here what value means and what value is. I'm going to measure results vis-a-vis my value and objectives, and then test. Was my perspective correct? Did I make the right hypotheses? And then iterate. And iterate, and iterate, because the business cycle is speeding up after the technology innovation cycle. Because the technology innovation cycle is accelerating, now we have many and many more opportunities for changing the business model on the fly. And therefore, we got to do this quickly. So that's the framework. What I wanted to do is walk you through 4 examples. And the idea behind these examples is understand In the first two, very well-established large companies that understood they had a problem with their ecosystem. And after looking through this model, we decided, working with them, that on our initial set of cycles, we're going to double down on assets and system first. Yes, we know your problem is at the ecosystem, but we identified better value and better returns if we tackle asset and system first. The last two examples, I'm going to show you two companies that did exactly the same thing. They built an application for their ecosystem that had mobile, social, and analytics. But they came up to the same answer for two complete different reasons. So we can compare and contrast, even though they came up to the same conclusion, it was for different purposes, and that drives what the application actually implements. So the first one, this is an example from a very well-known, very large, multinational company that produces printers, laser and ink, and multifunction, produces computers, desktop, laptop of different kinds, monitors. By all accounts, one of the top 3 leaders in its field, so incredibly successful, but they had a problem. Their net promoter score was negative. If you guys understand what the NPS metric means, a negative NPS means that your customers, people that actually bought your equipment, become detractors of the brand. They will not buy your product again. And in fact, they're going to go out of their way to tell their friends and family not to buy your product again. How could this happen? They have one of the best engineering teams on the planet. They are a dominant player in their segment. Well, here's their problem. They were so good about empowering their employees and empower their brands that you think about the way that they came up with new products, that they did their marketing and they sold the product, incredibly powerful. But when it came to support and service, every business unit created its own solution. So if you bought a laptop from this company, you needed to know, based on the name, the model number on your laptop, what website to go to figure out how to fix it. And many people own laptops, desktops, and printers from this company. So you can imagine that, oh, your laptop is of type XYZ, oh, that's one website. But for your kid's laptop that is type MNO, oh, you gotta go somewhere else. Oh, your printer also broke, well, that's a different website. Every website not only was different in URL, it was different in look and feel, it was different in structure and information architecture. Different kinds of information was present in there. Some were personalized, some were not. I could have been a huge buyer of their laptops, but I own only one printer. If I go try to get my printer fixed through their support services, I get treated like anybody else. Yet I'm a huge buyer of their laptops. They had no idea. So one of the things that we put as a hypothesis is they can turn NPS positive if they offer better support. And if they turn NPS positive, they can actually gain market share because they had just fallen from being number 2 to being number 3. So what did we do? We focused on a program where we set up 90-day goals. Every 90 days, we're going to do something new. So every quarter, for those doing math quickly on your heads, we're going to have 4 releases every year. And the goal of each release was going to be different, but they're all oriented towards the same thing. We defined value as that NPS needs to turn positive. And then we have values for the different iterations. I want task completion rate to go up. I want calls to my call center to go down. Because what ended up happening on their current world is, as a consumer, you go to one of these websites, you have no idea how to fix your laptop or to fix your printer. So what you ended up doing, almost invariably, is you abandon your online transaction, pick up the phone, and call support. And those call center agents had access to very good engineering tools and walk-through troubleshooters, where on the phone they can try to help you. But that's a model that is not scalable. So what ends up happening is, out of 1,000 calls that come in, you may resolve 500 very well and quickly. The other 500 take extra time. And as those 500 you are taking time to answer, the calls keep on queuing up, and you cannot hire enough people and train enough people fast enough to provide service when you're being so successful about selling your products. So the idea was to create a new set of capabilities that we call the eSupport Acceleration Program, where on the very first cycle, the goal was common glass. What that means is I wanted to bring everybody to the same URL. It looks the same, it is the same URL, it has a consistent look and feel, it has a consistent information architecture, and it has integrated search, such that I have a wealth of engineering assets that my field service operators had in hand, that our call center agents could access when they answered in a call. And the idea was to start turning some of those capabilities and make them available for consumer. So first cycle, common glass, come into the support site. You have a nice, clean look and feel that represents the brand of the company. You have a search. That search will give you a set of results. And the moment you click on something, you're back to that ugliness that we had before. But I got you through a common point and a common point of contact. The second cycle was to enhance personalization. So we did something called device detection. Where is that? Here. Device detection. If you allow us, we can download a small piece of software onto your laptop. It will run on your local network and identify how many of our products do you have installed. Based on how many of your products you have installed and which ones they are, we tailor that landing page to the product family that you are more likely to be coming to service or to support. We show you documents that are relevant to your printer model, to your laptop model, to your kid's desktop model. Then, on another iteration, we focus on making that system smart enough such that it will scan for warning logs or error logs. So when you came in, not only do they know what product you have, I know what problem you're coming to my website to solve. So I'm going to show you a troubleshooter for the particular problem that your printer is having. You didn't have to type anything. You came up to the website and there it is, a guide on how to solve your problem. It could do warranty checks automatically. So you're trying to get some sort of an assistance and you need to download a piece of software, but your laptop is out of warranty. If you don't like the answer, you can actually dispute it automatically. So there's automatic warranty dispute and warranty checks. If you need to download software that is under warranty, we allow you to download it right away. In fact, we may even initiate a download for you. It's not under warranty. Well, I'm allowing you to purchase an extended service contract, and if you don't want to purchase an extended service contract, we can charge you for the particular download. The idea was to bring an intuitive, responsive design that over several cycles took all of those assets that this company owned, that the engineers used to fix the products, and make them available as discrete services for end consumers, such that end consumers can solve themselves all of these problems. What was the answer? NPS had a swing of 40 points. It turned positive. Not only turned positive, it had 40-point swing. Massive. The positive NPS was also enhanced by a task completion rate of over 60%, meaning out of 10 visits that we have on the website, 6 of them are completed at the website. And by the way, the other 4, we automatically log where the customer dropped off and automatically create a case for a call center agent to proactively call that customer and tell them, we know you were on the website, you were trying to solve this, you got stuck in here, can we help you? And just to give you a sense of scale, this wasn't anything tiny. We're talking about 100 million customers generating over 1 billion hits a year, each one of them with a response of under 2 seconds. So this was a massive engineering undertaking. But to the point of the conversation, the disruption, the key idea was we didn't need a new mobile app or a new app to engage with the customer and have a friendly conversation about support. The key idea was investing in assets that I already own within my engineering departments and expose them as discrete services that then a thin front-end application can invoke. And that was key for generating a differentiated advantage within the support world. And as soon as we picked support, we fixed it. And once we have fixed support, now we have a positive NPS. Now I have customers that are happy with my brand and are gonna go out of their way to tell their friends and family to buy my product. That moves the company back up. That has an impact on sales. But as I said at the very beginning, our measure of value, our measure of success was not intended to create more sales, because that would have driven a completely different approach. The goal in here is much more discrete. I want to create a positive NPS. The next one is another example from a very large company, very well known, one of the super oils on the world, vertically integrated oil and gas manufacturer of fuels, base oil, lubricants, additives, etc. And part of their challenge is they're living in a world that is shrinking. Oil markets are down, fuel sales are down, lubricant sales are down. And when you're living in a world that is shrinking, in a business world that is shrinking, your only way to grow is by stealing market share. So I gotta explain something for a little bit to understand why this was intended to be a system play as opposed to an ecosystem play. So you will be tempted to say that if I'm living in a world in which I can only grow by stealing market share, the easier way to steal market share is to go after the customers. So let me go target the consumers and let me get those consumers engaged in my brand. Unfortunately, the world of oil and gas doesn't work that way. Most of the products are being moved by distributors and marketers. These are companies that become almost like trading partners or value-added resellers, that they buy the base oils or they take the base oils from a large company and they bring it to large direct buyers or distribution companies that then in turn sell it to somebody else, who sell it to somebody else, and eventually gets to the consumer. So going after the consumer was not the right play because the payback was going to be very small. We needed to go after that first tier of marketers and distributors. But there was a trend in this industry. Some of those marketers and distributors are regional operators that are buying each other and growing the old-fashioned way. They're growing by becoming large, and therefore they start dictating terms, because this industry, for the most part, is not as digitally savvy as other industries. So the key insight was, what if we invested in making those distributors and marketers way more efficient? We will pay, as the oil and gas company, to build a platform where I make their lives easier, so they can move my product easier than they can move the product of the competition. So we took 20 and 30-year-old systems that are literally only there to just take an order and process it through a blending plant and putting on a train track or on a truck for delivery. And we're creating a modern e-commerce system. So marketers and distributors are engaging with this company the same way that they engage with Amazon or Zappos through their cell phone. It's a modern e-commerce system. You can actually look at adjacent products. You can research based on technical specifications of the product. You can look at technical sheets. You can aggregate orders. The system will automatically tell you, if you combine orders 1, 3, and 4 from your history, you will get a truckload discount. So it will be cheaper for you to buy and distribute it this way. The system proactively helps them do reorders. I noticed that in the last 60 days, you place the same order every 12 days. We're coming up to your 12th day. Would you like to replace this order? All you need to do is just one click, and the order is gone. And it's sent to the plant, manufactured, blended, put on a truck, and sent to the distributor, no problem. Move one step further. How does the distributor bring this product to their customers? I mentioned it before. this is one of those industries where the entire delivery chain is handled via paper. There's an enormous amount of paper that a distributor needs to produce whenever they process a customer order. They need to give it to a driver. The driver brings it to a distribution point. They have a customer sign for it. It gets sent to a processing center. The processing center says to the big oil and gas company, which eventually will cut an invoice for the customer and post a credit for the distributor. It takes 9 weeks to do that entire processing. So one of the key insights was like, wait, what if I automate all of that process and I give them a mobile proof of delivery, an application that any truck driver can carry on their phone that tells them, oh, you are at IT Arena, you must be distributing to the IT cluster right now. They have an order outstanding for 27 gallons of something, 24 drums of something else. Tick in here what you actually gave them. Tick, tick, tick. Did you give them anything else? Yes, I also dropped off 3 bottles of, I don't know, some additive. Turn it around, the customer signs for it, the truck driver looks up, it looks good, presses a button. That goes up in the cloud and instantaneously creates an invoice for the customer and a credit for the tracking company, which, by the way, the following morning, they see it, they can log in into the e-commerce system and it will be reflected there. You have an outstanding credit of X pesos, dollars, hryvnia, doesn't matter where you're operating in the world, it will give it to you in your local currency because you yesterday delivered this to the customer. By the way, click here to see the delivery record with the signature of the customer. That takes care of an outstanding processing AR of over $2 million a year on disputed invoices and disputed deliveries. Yes, they have a very nice bottom line benefit. We basically paid for the application just by taking out 6 months worth of disputes. So, because everything moves a little bit slower in this industry, this company decided that their time horizon for iterations were going to be 6 months. So remember when we talked about the printer and laptop company, we talked about working on 90-day iterations. In here they decided, okay, we're going to work in 6 months iterations. And the first one was, I want to change the way that I take orders. So in the first 6 months was standing up a new modern e-commerce site that has a real-time pricing availability, real-time catalog visibility that allows you to enter orders. Intuitive, easy to do business with. Next cycle, okay, now let's move all of our business transactions to that site. So you can actually look at invoices, you can look at delivery confirmation records. They're still managed in paper and they ended up on a PDF, but now I'm giving it to you as part of a portal, integrated with anything that you do. Then we moved into creating a mobile app, the mobile app for the truck drivers that generates the instant credit and invoicing. So you see, none of this were terribly difficult problems to solve. We all know how to solve the majority of these issues. There was no key technology innovation. The key for them came from looking at what my problem was and making a hypothesis. If I invest money in making my system more transparent, I'm going to have happier distributors and marketers that are going to push my product to those consumers at a higher rate than they're pushing the products of my competition. Because my competitors are still making them fill out papers, my competitors still have outdated websites where the pricing may not have been right because it was off by 24 hours, or where well, that was the catalog from last month, sorry, that order got rejected because this month we changed the formulation of a base oil. 2 more examples. And I'm looking at the time and I have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to go a little bit longer and then we'll go for questions. So instead of 2 minutes, we're going to do 3 minutes. Okay. I'll make it quick. We have 2 examples now with companies that actually knew that their problem was at the ecosystem, and they came out to the conclusion that the only answer is to attack the ecosystem, and in both of them you're going to see the same logos at the very bottom: mobile, analytics, and social. I need to create a mobile app that is powered by analytics, and it has hooks into a social network. That's where the similarities end. The first one is a sports association, a professional sports association in the United States. If you look at the picture, it's not very difficult to figure out what sport are we talking about. The sport of golf. Popularity of golf is dropping in the US. The number of younger kids that are playing the sport today, significantly lower than the percentage number of people that were playing it 20 years ago. Golf courses are going out of business, or they're reducing their operating season, there are massive losses, memberships become much more expensive, and that is a negative cycle. So the association said, listen, we gotta do something. We gotta engage a new and younger generation of golf players. Where is this target demographic? They're online, they're in social media, they like to be engaged via apps. So why don't we create an app? And let's tackle different problems at a time. Let's create an app that allows you to register and find local facilities, follow a professional player, entering your results from having played a round, and now enable you to declare friends within the app such that me and my friends could be playing the same course, but on different dates and a different time, and it won't matter because I can see how well did you do on hole 7 and compared to how well did I do. And by the way, see, I have professional athletes in here as well. How did the two of us compare with Tiger Woods or anybody else that may have played that same course? And by the way, now that I have scores online, I can create a handicap system online, and I can tell you what your handicap is as you're trying to approach a course. Oh. Time's up. The basic idea was to establish those stronger relationships, build the power of the community. Дякую. Build the power of the community and entice the younger demographic the way that they want to engage with the sport. So make the sport adjust to the lifestyle of the younger demographic, as opposed to trying to bring the younger demographic and make it adjust to the way the sport used to be played by older generations. Will it work? We don't know. This is part of the strategy and having set up an intent and starting to go through the initial set of cycles to see how is it going to work out. So far, we're having registrations go up. Are more people playing the sport? Is this going to be the main driver? We don't know. But that's part of reacting to a reality in my ecosystem that I need to solve, harnessing the power of digital forces. The last example that I wanted to leave you with is a very, very, very well-known brand in the United States that does household, grocery, clothing, specialty, sports, electronics, retail. And they said, just like I mentioned earlier, they came to one of our teams and said, I need a mobile application because I see that everybody is in mobile, so I need you guys to create me a mobile application where I can sell my products using a mobile phone. We did. We built a mobile application where you can actually buy the products. But the mobile application didn't have a great degree of adoption. It was not a differentiator. It didn't get greatly used. And by the way, this company's competitors were doing all of them exactly the same thing. Each one of them had their own mobile app where all you could do is browse categories, select things. But the key challenge or the key insight was we have a very specific brand within this company. So this company has a particular online identity, and you can see it in their TV commercials, and you can see it on their print advertisement. But the app is not reflecting that. The app is not doing anything for that brand identity. So what about if we take this app that we created, but we do some experiments with it? We create the friends shopping network inside the app, so I can tell my friends what am I buying, and the app can keep track of some of the things that I'm buying together and when, and then publishes to my other friends, and they can influence their shopping list. What if as part of the shopping experience, you tell the app what is it that you want to do? Don't tell me what product you want to buy. Tell me what you want to do. And based on what you want to do, the app will recommend, here is a set of 10 or 15 products that go with what you want to do. And I'm going to personalize the view of the app based on what you told me you want to do. And by the way, you enter the store, and they are experimenting with beacons. I know that now you're in the store, so the app changes. And now I can guide you through the store. I can add things to your basket. I can remove things to your basket. They created a different experience. That app was enormously successful, and 2 years ago it was one of the key highlights that Apple showed when they launched the new iPhone, and they showed this company's app as an example for what's possible with a family of Apple products. But the app is also available with Android. So the idea here was to look at the ecosystem and realize that we are all Me Too's, and how do I change the game? How do I double down on that mobile app such that I can create a mobile experience that drives you to the store, and once you're in the store, your experience in the store changes for how the mobile experience guides you to change. It was one of the very first players that actually implemented a true omni-channel solution that melded the way of digital with the way of the physical stored environment. What did I want to leave you with? We heard that in the introduction. The speed of technology innovation is accelerating, and that's driving the speed at which business change can occur. The mantra is either you are disrupting yourself and your competition, or someone else is or will very soon be disrupting you. This is a key message for you as your companies, but also for you as the customers that you're serving. When they come to you and they ask you for a discrete application, challenge them. You want a mobile for your consumers, but what about a mobile for your employees? What about analytics for your distribution channel? Think about the 5 forces and the 3 layers. There's 15 conversion points. And look, what's around what you're being asked to do? That might be a source of differentiator where you tell them, we'll do that, but if you have a fixed budget, why don't we spend less money on what you're asking me to do and put a double down money on something that no one else is doing? Speed is key. The words of General Patton, a good plan violently executed today is better than the perfect plan next week. So just as Rupert Murdoch say, I don't need the perfect vision, I don't need the total scale, I need you to remain nimble. And I purposefully avoided using the word speed until the very last slide, because enterprise agility doesn't necessarily translate to speed. It translates to nimbleness. You gotta be nimble. You gotta be able to recognize change and move fast enough to take advantage of it. So when we talk about speed, speed is relative to the client, to the industry, and to the conditions. The example from the retailer, they were operating in monthly releases. Every 30 days there was a new feature being pushed out to consumers to change their experience. When we talked about the oil and gas, they were making releases every 6 months. They were changing the way that their distributors engage with them every 6 months. For each one of their industries, that's considered fast. Therefore, speed is relative. What is important is to remain nimble. And remember, no action is a decision. So when you look at those 15 conversion points and you're not acting on 12 of them, you are making a decision that you're consciously acknowledging that somebody may disrupt you on those 12 points that you're not touching, because you decided to consciously focus on only 3. It may very well be that that's not a conscious decision in many of your interactions with your clients today, because they don't see the world beyond what their discrete ask is. Help them see it. They will have an advantage, and you will have more business.
Okay. Could you please? Okay, Alejandro, thank you very much for a great presentation. So we have just some minutes to have several questions from our audience. Guys, are you ready with questions? Please wait. If you're afraid to ask a question, I'm not afraid. So I have a lot of questions. I will be the first, and I think that people will ask. Alejandro, speaking about digital disruption and how to start it in a company. I understand that the best way is to go to Deloitte Digital, but is there any chance, and what will be your advice, how to start creating culture of digital disruption in your company?
Yeah, the key thing is to empower everybody to innovate. So in a traditional company, you have somebody that is your chief innovation officer, or you actually have a group that is responsible for setting a strategy. Many of the companies that are being successful, they are allowing anybody to innovate. So I didn't talk about this, but one of the things that was interesting is the case study of a company that actually invested in an internal social network where anybody can actually suggest an idea for innovation. They have 30,000 employees all over the world. Some are in manufacturing, some are in trucking, some are sitting in offices, some are in sales. It doesn't matter. Anybody can have a good idea for innovating within the company. And they started collating and aggregating ideas and generating discussion points around some of the key notions that were coming up from the bottom of the organization. And that was incredibly innovative for them, because they came up with 2 or 3 product ideas that the strategy team by themselves will have never figured that out.
Okay, thanks. Any questions from the audience? Because I have a lot. Okay, then just one more for me. From my experience, I know that in every company there is always a resistance for innovations. So people love living the way they used before. So what will be your advice, how to help those innovators in the organization to work with resistance to innovation?
Okay. That's
in a legal way.
That's an interesting question, because in any industry, you will find resistance to change. And this is one of those things that is inevitable. Change is happening and change is accelerating, but people are set on their ways to do things. So every time you're trying to innovate something, it becomes a battle of, we always have done something a certain way, so let's not change it. Or you need to justify, why is it that you need to change this? This is working great right now. And that's what I find one of the keys. I mean, one of the key strategies for innovators to work against change resistance is what we term as focus on the objective truth. So what you do is you establish a fact that even the most staunch change resistor cannot deny. If there's something that objectively is true, for example, wouldn't it be very advantageous to our company if we improve 3% utilization of our manufacturing robots? Well, that would be objectively true, a good thing to do, right? Well, I figured out that if we make this other chain of events, I can change your job and it will have this long-lasting impact that will cause that. And then the discussion becomes about, do I trust your data and do I trust your reasoning? But it's objectively true that we're talking about making a change. And now you change the conversation about how to innovate. The need for innovation is already established.
Okay, thank you. So we are running out of time. I would like to thank you Alejandro very much for his presentation.